beautiful till it all burns out. We're like falling stars, miracles dancing on the ground. And we're right with you to feel it strike deep dive. We're right with you, yeah. And we're right with you to feel it strike deep dive. Suffering grows, yeah. They say that life is beautiful. Would you let me in? No, yeah. They say that life is beautiful. Would you let me in? No, yeah.
Welcome. Welcome. We have the amazing Jason Verbelli with us. Jason, it is always a pleasure to speak with you about anything.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for having me, and thank you to the listeners for joining us.
So,
whenever we get them, exactly.
Right. So tonight we're going to be talking about some pretty awesome stuff, right? Do you want to start with, where do you want to start, Jason?
Well, let's see. I had an interesting day today. Was fighting some hackers all day today. This is crazy. So could lead in from that, I guess. People trying to stop your boy from speaking.
Uh-oh. Well, you do cover a lot of very dangerous topics to be discussing. I mean, we talked about that on the living structured water episode.
And I don't know. Apparently that the episode might have angered some people or something. I don't know. All right, I'm into conspiracies though, so I'm running with this one. I'm milking this cow. So shortly after we had our last interview, somebody attempted to hack into my email, and they were successful at getting in. And I don't know if they were just lurking. I have a boring email. There's no compromat on my emails. So I don't know what these people were after, but
just looking at your Google Drive at the documents that you have, I felt like a leprechaun striking gold. I was like, oh my God, Jason.
Yeah.
This is
it's
amazing.
All free. It's all for free. I give it all for free anyway. So I try to, emphasize that everything is for free. Shouldn't have to pay to live. If you do, at least it should be cheap and use what's around you. So I don't know, that's the type of information I promote. But apparently some people want to take down the social media page and try to stop my email and stuff. So
this was like 5 days after our show?
Yeah. And before and thereafter, and even today, and a couple, it's like January 23rd, 29th, and then today and yesterday. It's like relentless. People calling my phone, trying to get me to read them PIN codes, and then kicking me out of my own email as I'm using it, changing my email password and stuff that executive level, this is some serious breach. This isn't normal. Something is wrong. Obviously I'm on the right track. This is great. Because I've said for years, I've always felt left out. Now, I've never had a death threat. No, I've never had the men in black kicking in my door. It's like I've had milk and cookies waiting for these people for years. Everything's gone spoiled and stale. But so now I'm getting hacked. I'm like, all right, I'm a member of the club now. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
Your subconscious fear, you're like, yes, I've been waiting years to manifest this. That means this is the level I want to be at.
It's confirmation I'm finally on the right track. My career that I don't have. Please. So yeah, it's interesting. It's just but somebody's really, really after me to stifle either this information or
if you had to guess what information you think would really trigger that kind of response, what would it be?
That would have to probably do with the work at SEG Magnetics at this alternative energy research and development facility that I helped build with John Searl and Fernando Morris. And I'm thinking perhaps they think I keep company secrets and proprietary information in there, and they want that or something, because we're talking hell bent on getting access to my email for something. And that's the only thing I can really think of is the technologies that I work with and the information I promote. That's the only thing there could possibly be, because this is the work I do. We should be getting funding equal to NASA or SpaceX or CERN, but we don't yet. So this type of technology can help the world power homes, power cars, clean the water, clean the air, get rid of harmful bacteria and viruses, and eventually lead to space travel and mining asteroids so that we don't need to use our resources on Earth. So there's lots of stuff that this technology could provide, given that it is supported on a global scale.
So let's talk about this place, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about the work you're doing there. And
in San Diego here, sunny San Diego. It's nighttime right now, so not so sunny San Diego. Moved here 10 years ago, 11 years now. So we are doing work to rebuild the
Where did you move from?
San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay.
So that was moved away from my family and friends to dedicate myself to this endeavor, rebuilding John Searl's technology and validating his claims in a professional environment, keeping our feet on the ground before we put our head in the clouds. So we have to do real work here, power things practically, and then we can talk about flying to space and doing all these other fantastic things. But it's all possible, and this technology can help make that possible for real. And yeah, if you're taking money away from major corporations and you're stifling people's efforts to make that money, I can see why it might, if you're hurting someone's bottom line, they're going to pay their money to stop you. So if you make $3 trillion a year, you'll pay $1 trillion to try and stop other people from taking your money or slowing your flow. So that's what, I don't know, its potential here is that I'm promoting stuff that might be, might piss some people off. So yeah, this is crazy. So the work I do here is we imprint magnetic waveforms onto materials. Let me show you an example. This is a segment. Okay, this is innermost this is aluminum right now, but in the prototype it's made of neodymium, just element 60, pure neodymium, not magnet. So neodymium, Teflon, the white, a magnet, the gray, and copper. So the electrons are absorbed in the reservoir. They are blockaded by the dielectric material, accelerated by the magnetic, and emitted by the copper. So 8 of these stacked together makes one roller. 12 rollers orbit this device, which looks like this 3-ring device.
Spin? Does it spin, Jason?
Oh, it's shiny and it spins and it's round. It's like, it's just a dream. So,
I want a tour. I want to come there. Right. Can I come there?
That's right. Maybe we might have to arrange something. Maybe.
Nice.
Let's see. You have to pass the tests first. Blindfold you.
Yes.
So, we have a facility that we have built up since 2010, which has been funded by over 70 investors and shareholders who have financially contributed probably over $1.5 million since 2010. But this technology, John Searl has said, requires $3 million in order to bring it to fruition. He said, you'd better have at least $3 million in your bank to have for unforeseen problems, for trial and error, for experimentation, and and everything you need. 3 million is really a drop in the bucket. So with inflation, probably more like 5 million. That $2 chuck is now $4 chuck. Cheers. So we have to
Charles
account for
Shaw,
that.
good old Charles.
Good old Chuck. Yeah. No Josh, please. No. So we're working on this technology which can help provide solutions for the world. And that's the claim, and that's what we are working on here. And it involves these magnetic waveforms which you imprint onto the third layer, that magnet layer there. And all of these waveforms are like sine waves, and they resonate like a tuning fork and draw in energy and help to output it effectively, like a laser. So everything is drawn in 3 dimensions and output only like a laser, like Saturn's rings. And the claims made for this technology could make other conventional things obsolete, gasoline, and we'll still need oil for plastics and other stuff. We won't need it for the cars, and so you would need electric cars, and your electric car would not be subject to an EMP to be shut off. Your house would not be subject to EMPs. That would just be considered as fuel. Any electromagnetic radiation would just be eaten up and be considered fuel and converted to electricity. So that's an advantage. No risk of blackouts. Don't have to be connected to the grid. You could feed electricity back to the grid and get paid for it. Plants grow faster because of the negative ions emitted from the unit. John Searl also claimed that, John Searl's half of his face was burned off in an oil explosion in a fire.
What year did that happen?
Probably the 60s, sometime in the 60s. I'll have to look back on that. But this guy, he kept a pan of oil, like motor oil, on his stovetop in his kitchen or his workshop, and he just kept his tools in the warm oil, and he said it helps prevent the rust. So you just, when you're done with your tools, you wash them off, you just put them in the oil, and then they don't rust, and there you go. Warm oil. So one day, either his kid or he left the heater on too high, and he remembered, and he went in there, and while he was going to go turn it off, it flashed and exploded like in his face, and completely like Two-Face from Batman. Like he was wrecked. He went to the hospital. They said he'd have to have all these skin grafts. He's going to look like Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger wasn't around yet, but he would look like Freddy Krueger, right? All burned and stuff. So he was Mr. Mummy Man. He had the bandages wrapped around him. Kids were throwing rocks at him, pointing and laughing and stuff. But at the time, he was powering his house with this device that he built while working at the electric company that ran all of London. He was hired there as a supervisor because he was so brilliant with electronics. He was a savant and a prodigy. So he was hired there as a supervisor. He built this on company property, was using it at his home, and he said it worked better than expected. Powered his whole house. He disconnected from the grid, and the negative ions from this device, he said, helped to heal his skin. He didn't need any skin grafts, and his face healed from this severe burning incident.
I would want to ask him how he gets his visions, like how it comes to him. That interests me.
It was his dreams.
When he's sleeping.
It was his dreams. He got, first with the face, his face healed, but the pigment, you have to be in the sun after a while because it's brand new skin again. So it took years for the pigment in his face to darken up equal to the other side again. And only a dermatologist could tell, half of his face was you could tell something severely happened to half of his face. But this device, this SEG, while powering his house, emitted so many negative ions that it helped heal his face and prevented scar tissue from forming. So
that always fascinates me. The brain is negative ions, but how it can make you feel, how negative ions make you feel positive, basically. These it makes you feel amazing.
That's what he said. He said being around the device is like being right after a fresh rain or something. You know, that clean feeling, and it's just everything's purified. He said what it feels like just being around the unit.
I'm like, that's probably why we're not allowed to collect rainwater.
Yes, exactly. Right? Yeah. There's laws about that stuff now, and if you do, you get fined or something. We do it anyway. Get the big old storage tanks. What are they going to do? Just call it a septic tank. But you keep water in it. How are they going to know? So there's always loopholes. Let's see. Let's see. You mentioned something else. You wanted to ask a question about something else. Is what the
Oh, it's visions, like how it comes to him. Because I speak to a lot of inventors, and like I know the way things come to me and formulas come to me. Like I see it, like while I'm awake with my, like so I'm interested of how other people, a lot of these inventors, the way that I've met so many people that they touch things and they know how it works, or certain inventions come to them and how it comes to them, and that fascinates me.
So with John Searle, he got all of his information and derived all of that from his dreams, reoccurring dreams he had from age 6 to 12. He had these 2 dreams twice a year for 6 years. And one of the dreams was about hopscotch squares. And he would throw a rock on square 4 or square, and he would jump to that. And as he was playing with the squares, this giant steamroller cylinder would come to him and almost run him over. But before it came to him, it would split in 2. And so he would have this nightmare and this reoccurring dream about these hopscotch squares and this roller. So he took that as meaning it's a cylinder that you cut into sections. And the hopscotch squares, he took like Sudoku, like magic squares, which is a form of math that hasn't been seen for like 5,000 years. Low shoes magic squares, but like the I Ching. It came from like the I Ching. So this kid that was left as an orphan, beaten until he was mostly deaf, and left to his own devices. He's deaf. Why bother with him anyway? So he just was left to think, and he had these dreams and wrote almost 100 books called The Law of Squares.
What?
Where, in sets. I have a picture of 25 of these books on this large office table. Couldn't fit any more of the books on the table. I could only take a picture of 25 of them at once. We're talking, some of them are 400 pages. So it's like a game of Sudoku where you rearrange these numbers and they all add up to the same number, no matter which way you arrange them. So the numbers are like random. And if you add them up diagonally and crossway columns and rows, they all add up to the same sum. John Searle said that that represents randomized atomic energy, so that if you have the numbers in the squares like you normally do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you add them up, they'll all be different. And that's, he says, how we use atomic energy now, is that it's just completely random. There's all these fluctuations around us, all random. But if you arrange materials in a certain order, in a certain density, with certain magnetic forces, with electrostatic forces, with dielectric, with the emitters and conductor, you have all these things in complete harmonic resonance and geometric perfection. He says that it's like rearranging those numbers so that they're almost random, but when you add them up, it's all the same, which means the energy produced by this is ordered. So what this device does is it converts all of that randomized energy into ordered electricity, and that's what it uses. So the fuel for the device is all of the randomized energy around us that's all in fluctuations that they call quantum turbulence and all that. So it eats that up and converts it into one wave. And by doing that, it harvests electricity in that process as an open system.
So it is a sine wave? or it's like a sine?
It's exactly a sine wave. It's a
Okay.
magnetic sine wave, which
Okay.
then facilitates electrons to flow in a Bose-Einstein condensate, which is like a one wavelength where everything moves all together at once. The same direction, the same speed, the same spin. Everything is the same weight. Everything is the same size, the same shape, the same distance. Everything is the same.
But it's not
density.
longitudinal like a scalar wave?
I don't know. I couldn't. I
okay.
don't know how to answer that.
Okay.
I don't know how to answer that. I have thought about that for years. I don't know how to answer that yet. Maybe someday. But this energy, he says, transposes.
Wait, hold on. I just asked a Gemini a question, and they were on it. This is rare. Like,
see, I'm getting better. Okay, I'm not going to fake knowing something or not. If I don't know, I don't know. Okay, and I will look into it, and I will get you a better answer later. Okay, so
awesome.
Thank you. So this energy transposes, and you can use these Sudoku squares like a calculator. And that's what he did, is these dreams that he had, these reoccurring dreams about hopscotch squares. He wrote like 100 books talking about this randomized energy and how you can use it to power things and all this stuff. The other dream he had was climbing this ladder up to this loft. And when he got up, he pushed this attic door, and he's in this attic, and he sees this bale of hay, this ring of hay around him.
Uh-huh.
But this ring of hay has 12 spokes like a clock. And immediately the hay starts to catch fire. And he's like worried, but then something in his dream tells him, no, it's okay. As long as you're in the center of that ring, you're fine. Even if there's fire all around you, don't worry, you're okay. So
I love the way the divine, like, their symbolism, man. It is so brilliant.
So he took this information as meaning, if you build this large enough and you're in the center of this ring and everything is spinning around you, even though there's going to be extreme like electrostatic discharge, you're going to be safe. Even though you can travel thousands of miles an hour and stop on a dime and go 90 degrees, you're not going to have inertia. You're going to be fine.
So all of these it provides like a force field of outside,
Yeah, it's like the engine and it's like a UFO. It's like how a UFO and a UAP flies. And this guy built it and tested it and flew it. Not in it. He was controlling it remotely with ham radio signals, but he built something like it, and it was 11 feet long, and he flew this thing around and demonstrated this. The BBC filmed this guy, and he did this from his dreams. So
I love this. I love that.
He was like, and he used these magic squares, he called them, this law of squares, to determine this technology, and he got it from his dreams. He didn't get it from aliens. He didn't get it, but I think he's like I believe in reincarnation very strongly. I think this guy, John Searl, was like a reincarnation of somebody who helped develop the I Ching, or somebody who worked.
Tell him to do. I'll do a past life regression on him.
Well, unfortunately, you can't now because he passed away in 2018. Rest his soul.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I know.
I just missed him.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
but we have all of his books, his original material. We have all of his content. A lot of it was destroyed over the years. This guy, he would. One man who helped him and was funding him for years was a man named George Haynes. He had cancer. George loved Jesus and religion, and he said, John Searl, I will give you the money you need for your projects and experiments. I'll listen to you. While he was on his deathbed, he said, I'll give you what you need as long as you listen to me about Jesus and you help other people understand about his religion and stuff. And John was like, okay, I'm not really into that, but yeah, you're going to help me, then I'll help you. So George Haynes funded him for years, and John experimented after he left the electric company. George Haynes died of cancer after a while. And when he did, the new owner of the property kicked John Searl out. he had to leave all of his electronic equipment. He had to leave stacks of his writings and books. He had to leave. They were all thrown away. They were all burned or used for scrap. And like, this happened to him over and over and over throughout his life. So by
where someone would come in and sabotage that. I've noticed that with certain brilliant people where their partner, it's like almost like a force overtakes them and gets devious and like does things that like sabotage it, and they always have to like start from scratch. And it's usually the people that have these brilliant minds and are wired in a certain way that can change things on a grand scale. Yeah. Like, that's very interesting.
He was a really eccentric fellow, so he was hard to work with when it came to trying to bring his technology to fruition. So he was so paranoid of people going to steal from him, rob him, trying to take his technology, trying to steal from him. He was so paranoid, rightfully so, because everybody kept doing it to him. And so after a while, he just like shut down and refused to talk to anybody except for Fernando Morris, my boss, and me. For some reason, he just like took a liking to me, and like I helped him out. I helped like towards the end. I helped feed him. Like I helped like we were like close, man. Like, and he's like one of my best friends. And it hurt when he passed, but he left us his legacy to continue. And we wouldn't be able to build what we're doing without him divulging some of what,
That's powerful,
we
Jason.
have, yeah. So
that is like you have like the mentor. You had the mentor of mentors.
It's like the last apprentice of John Searl. It's crazy. So I'm thinking that, originally the conversation, I'm thinking that these hackers or whatever are trying to get some information that they think I have in my email regarding this and pertaining to Searl and this proprietary information, because I helped build the magnetizer. I helped doing these experiments, and it's just me and my boss, but I don't have anything like that on my email, fellas. Sorry. So it's all up here to the grave, son. Yeah, so that's
no, he's got a secret kill switch. All right, just to make it official.
That's right. Oh, I've got a force field, just like the device. Right. That's the other thing I wanted to mention. This device is claimed to develop some force field around it when it turns superconductive. So he was powering his house with this device, but if you try to power your house too much, it will fly away. What? Yeah, nobody taught him that's not supposed to happen. So if you try to use the device too powerfully, it will absorb more electrons than it can output. And for some reason, he said that's where gravitational anomalies occur, is when you're trying to absorb more electrons than you can shed. If you're shedding more electrons than you gain, that's like a nuclear meltdown.
Yeah, I was going to say, would that make it like, is it a...
Yeah, it's when you get radiation, you get shedding, or you get decay, you get decomposition and death. Burning your skin, it's like exchanging electrons, and you're burning, and you're shedding electrons at an accelerated rate, and that
so it could be totally weaponized.
Well, it is. That's what nuclear tech is. But this technology is the opposite. You can gather more electrons than you lose, so it prevents burning. That's why his face healed. So while he was experimenting, he was trying to solder circuits and stuff and trying to do electronics. He said while he was soldering, he would bring the soldering iron near the device that was powering his house, and the red hot soldering iron would go out. He thought there was an electrical problem. The device was stealing the electrons from the soldering iron faster than the soldering iron can produce them. So the soldering iron cooled down. If you're stealing that. So if you're stealing so much energy from around you to a point, the device will get colder and colder and colder and colder until it's as if you're pouring liquid nitrogen on it. And what happens with liquid nitrogen and superconductors? Boom. They lift away from each other and they levitate and repel. The Earth is a giant magnet. So if you develop a superconducting field strong enough and you're developing your own emissions of gravity, you're going to compete with those existing forces of Earth, and the Earth will push you up and away. The Earth will repel you to the sky. So when he tried to use this as a generator, he'd bump up the power. It wanted to fly away. So it had some force field around it. When he tried to use this in his house, it ripped through his ceiling. It blasted a hole through his ceiling, through his roof, and floated above his house. This device he wanted to power his house with floated out of his house.
Did it just hang there? Just like
it blasted through his roof. He said it was glowing, it was silent, and it was hovering over his house. He said flocks of birds in the area dropped dead. He said people's roofs, the tiles on their roofs were rippling, and everybody's radio sets in the town came on full blast, whether they were plugged in or not. Remember the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
I never saw it.
Julia.
But I know. You're like, you speak at the alien event. You've never seen Close Encounter. I know.
Okay, that's your homework. Okay, over the next week. You got homework. Okay, you can give me homework too, but that's your homework. You have to watch that movie. So in that movie, there is a scene where a UFO, these aliens come down this woman's house to come and abduct her kid. And all of her appliances are turned on. Her vacuum cleaner in her closet turns on. All of her radio turns on. Her record player turns on. All of her electronics are going haywire while this ship is over her house and around. And when it leaves, everything turns off. Same thing happened with John Searl. This device floated above his house. All of the radio sets in the town just turned on, whether they were plugged in or not. And then the device, he said, went ping, and just was gone. It just gone. So he built another one, tested it, it flew away. He built another one. It tested it, it flew. These things that he kept, every time he tried to power his house with this thing originally, it would fly away. So he finally learned to add that Teflon layer. It was originally nylon 6/6. He used nylon as the layer to regulate the flow. And then after he did that, it wouldn't fly away. He could power his house up to a point. So
was that the first thing he experimented with after, or did he go through several things?
Oh, he went through several of those in order to determine that, because every time
I know, but was that like the only adjustment after it? Like he immediately knew it was that, tried it, it worked.
Yeah, he assessed his dreams. He used the law of squares and determined, wait a minute, I'm missing a variable. It's like having a hydroelectric dam with no wall of a dam. So all of a sudden you have this water with no regulation. It just floods the whole town. So the dielectric plastic or the Teflon or the nylon layer acts as the wall of the dam, which regulates the electron flow. Normally, electricity cannot pass through insulators, cannot pass through Teflon, right? But he said this electricity is different. It behaves like light. Light passes through the glass of your window, right?
Yeah, like photons.
Yes, because photons can pass through dielectric materials and insulators, but fermions and electrons cannot. But he said this electricity is like two electrons coupling together, which is called
like a neutrino,
a Cooper pair.
Ooh.
He said a Cooper pair is like two electrons paired together, and that behaves like a photon. And when two electrons are coupled together, they can quantum tunnel through an insulator, through a dielectric material. So the energy goes into the reservoir and is regulated through the second plastic layer, like a glass window, like photons through glass. So that's how he was able to
trying to apply this to like biophoton, like the medical, like I'm trying to apply this of like the difference.
You can apply the same concept to biology and
right. I'm like, this could be huge. Like, not could be. Oh my God.
so John Searl, this guy, am I right? This guy figured all this stuff out from his dreams and practically powered his house applying this information. The electric company found out after he left the electric company, they realized, wait a minute, this guy's not on our grid. He's disconnected from the grid. He's stealing our electricity. So that was a whole ordeal.
Jason, this story has everything I'm interested in, like
right.
advanced technology, solutions, revolutionary, and the fact he got it from where? His visions and dreams that he decoded. Because a lot of the times people get, like, symbolically, they get the messages, but they don't know how to translate. They don't know how to apply it. It's like, oh, what ladder? A lot of shamans have been shown too, like ladder visions where there's light up above, but there's always something profound, like, in those visions. It was always like, but the ladder for centuries, really, like in caves, they depict it like that, and there's light and a lot of answers like that are shown in that setting. Yeah, it's very shamanistic.
So, but people, they interpret it their own way. But John Searle interpreted it through almost 100 books, and these Sudoku squares, he got up to like 25 by 25 squares, and he had this pattern where in seconds he could rearrange the numbers of any given square and they'll all add up the same way no matter what, no matter how big the square. Normally people play Sudoku, they do it like with a 4x4 or a 5x5 square. John Searle could do that with a 25 by 25, 30 by 30, like, and it's all in his books, like how to do it. It's like, this guy was a savant, a prodigy. He was like Nostradamus, using the I Ching, but in a modern way to calculate how to build his free energy alternative device unit, which could fly. And the force field that it develops in the superconductive state could be used for transportation, and you can fly in space without worry of space debris ripping through the shuttle or something. Like the tiniest pebble in space will just kill you if you're on a shuttle, if you do it wrong. But with this, all of the particles around the unit will be repelled away if they have mass smaller than the unit. So if you're flying in this and you're flying towards an asteroid that has more mass than your ship, you're going to change direction and you're going to go around the asteroid like two magnets that want to repel. Unless you're going fast enough to overcome that repulsion, at which point you're screwed and you're dead. But this technology, if you're going under a certain threshold of a velocity, you wouldn't crash into anything, and everything that is smaller than you would be pushed away from you. So you could travel through space without any worry, going way faster than light speed. No need for warping time and reality at all. You'll just get to your destination faster.
Dude, if it's like it's photonic, it's like similar. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you're going to get a good sleep tonight. Yeah.
or I'm not going to fall asleep because my mind is going to be like, what?
Well, eventually, whenever you do sleep, you're going to pass out. It's going to be good.
Oh man. Okay. Cheers. So do you want to get into the panspermia?
Yeah. Because this also follows, if you had access to space, you could do asteroid mining, and you could get materials like gold, platinum, iridium, and you wouldn't have to like carve up the earth and stuff. And like, you could have houses and stuff in those areas instead, and jungles. We could replenish the world. But if you're in space, I could imagine that with this technology, because you're starting it up in the atmosphere, you're circulating some ionized air that is around the device, which you're trapping. That's another thing. You would not need life support systems and oxygen tanks, because the electrons from this device are replenishing the CO2 that you breathe and convert to oxygen. So like you could you could rebreathe, and it would like purify the air just from the electron emissions of the device itself. So you wouldn't need oxygen tanks. So that's
Purify the air. Sign me up for that.
That's a plus, right? And John Searl also said that if you're on a ship using his technology, you will have 1/2 the gravity as you do if you start it up on Earth. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you start it up, you weigh 100 pounds. And he said, you also feel that on your thoughts. Like it's twice as easy to think, and you just feel refreshed and you feel better. You don't need as much sleep. You don't need to eat as much. Why do you eat? Because you're gathering the food. Why do you eat food? To get the electrons from the food. You're ultimately
for voltage.
You're ultimately eating electrons, right? And then discarding everything that's not electrons. So that's the whole point of medicine, food, breathing, is ultimately you're trying to absorb electrons at a constant rate to maintain you. But this technology can supply them at a faster, monstrous rate on steroids. So you don't need to eat as much. You don't need to sleep as much. You feel healthier. You feel better, restored, and it purifies the air. So you could travel in space effectively without need for rockets and travel thousands, like millions of times faster than light if you have the technology to do so. But at the very least, you could travel as fast as a radio wave, which is at the speed of light using this technology. So while you're in space, you have this air trapped around you, right? Which means if you go to a new location and you were to turn that off, the air that you brought would be brought with you wherever you go. So the microbes that are in that air could be transferred to a new location, even if they're could, so if you have any microbes
can you explain to people what like panspermia is?
Panspermia is a theory that says microbes and life exists in space, maybe even in a suspended state, like little tardigrades, the tardigrades that are very, very hard to kill, or like space cockroaches. All right, space roaches. They
have like one eye.
Yeah, cyclopses. So they can. So they're probably microbes and fungus and molds. There's probably stuff in space that's just floating there dormant, but it's living stuff, and maybe even viruses or whatever. People don't believe in viruses. Whatever. There's stuff that can make
I know,
you
it's
sick.
like, wait, the whole firmament too, with space, and there's water above us, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know, right? That's another episode.
Yeah.
But the panspermia says that there's microbes in space and that it seeded life on Earth through asteroids, that there might be a life on asteroids, and that as it comes by Earth, it drops off some of those microbes, which make it into the atmosphere. And when there are meteor showers, some people
cosmic bacteria.
Yes. So that's probably a very big thing in space travel.
That's why I want to have you on the show, and Brittany and I talk about like meteors and volcanoes, and it being very similar in what they're made up of, and cosmic bacteria. Like I would love to have you on when we discuss that.
I think in the last show, in the Structured Water show, I mentioned this guy, Mark Leclerc, who has a theory about life and RNA and DNA synthesis, and how when asteroids impact in ocean water and salt water, that it generates cavitation bubbles, which is superheated steam. And those cavitation bubbles can generate low energy nuclear reactions and make amino acids and transmute elements to make for life. So you not only have microbes that could be coming down from the asteroids, but then you have the asteroids impacting water to generate amino acids, which can then mix with that other life to then act as a catalyst. So yeah, life could just come from an asteroid, from space, we don't know. But I subscribe to that theory of panspermia, that okay, let's say there's other space travelers. they're probably bringing microbes to and from or whatever, unless they can decontaminate before they get off their ship. But if somebody crashes here, like Roswell or something, don't know. They could bring something that we don't know, and then hybrid little microbes could. Now you have little alien hybrid
little
life
mind
forms
viruses, right? Little mind viruses.
and the parasites. You got to do cleanses now with your green drink. See, I know how this works. You can spit it out now. See, I know how it works, right? That's why I drink wine.
Oh man. Panspermia.
Yeah. So we got stuff coming to Earth. Quite literally.
So there's got to be people that are like, this is possibly exploding, or like from volcanoes that's shooting out there or blowing back in.
My goodness, these innuendos are crazy. Yes. So yeah, all of that. Yeah. But the incoming bacteria from space and meteors and asteroids is a big possibility that seeds life. Oh, that's one thing I wanted to mention. In 2001, in Kerala, India, there was this incident where red rain, like blood, rained on Kerala, India. And they tested it, and it didn't have any like normal, like some scientists said that it was a dust cloud in the area that mixed with the water and rained red.
Well, the color of meteors like depends on its like chemical composition, and with red, I think that's more of like nitrogen and oxygen, and like iron is kind of more yellow, calcium is more like purple, sodium I think is more like of like a golden color, and then the blue is like more magnesiums in it. I think it has to do with the shade, but so in India it was super red.
There's pictures of this, and people could look at this up. 2001. Kerala, India, raining red or raining blood. And there's pictures of the samples that scientists took and tested and stuff. And there are two scientists, I think from NASA, that really were emphasizing this panspermia theory from that incident. And it's also known or suggested that sometimes people get sick and the colds and flus come around with meteor showers and asteroid coming by and stuff, maybe Halley's Comet or something, Hale-Bopp, like
yeah, what if like chemtrails like gave them idea to inspire them of like, we're gonna seed our own stuff here,
Yeah, we love that barium and aluminum
yeah, what
oxide.
What if there's what if there's beneficial cosmic bacteria that would, I don't know, I like to take things way too far.
Well, maybe it's like Venom, it'll make you a superhero or something. That would be cool too. Hey. No. But I do believe that there is life from outer space that comes here, or inner space, whatever you want to call it. Though, and that's probably just a very, very common theme all over the universe. It's just like
I stick to here. Like I pick up on so much here underground, and I stay with the here, and like, yeah, I keep it here, but
you gotta live here and now, man. But live in the moment.
There's just so much beneath us that I pick up on. So I think I'm like, all right. But the Mars thing, like that's
so how much
wild.
of that is trapped in ice, like in Antarctica, or like the Thing or something? How much of that is ancient bacteria? I've heard this like 10,000 year worm larva or something found in Antarctica, rejuvenated, brought back. Like, no, what are you doing, bro? Don't bring back ancient larvae. Like, please. That's just bad news. Somebody's gonna turn that into a vaccine and force us all to take it.
Oh no, don't say that word.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm into way more dangerous topics than that.
So that's another episode right there.
Okay. So what about what are your other theories like with that? Like, did you?
Well, with the panspermia specifically, people have trouble with that because there's like, there's a vacuum out there in space. But you look at cockroaches, look at tardigrades, little water bears. They're hard to kill. You can put them in radiation, you can put them in microwaves, you can put them in a vacuum, put them underwater, you can put them in like next to lava.
What if those are like the future travelers or the ancient ones?
I would just
They're like, hey man, this is the body form. In order to roll and last for a long time, this is what we're working with. This is ideal.
This is the peak form for the organism. The fat little tardigrade.
They're like 250,000 years and counting. How long have they been around?
A billion years.
Okay, 250 million.
Give or take, There's a youngin'.
He's definitely got his eye open, his one eye open.
Oh, Illuminati confirmed. So that's another angle, is the transmutation and the life coming from elsewhere. And I just think that's just like common sense to me. That's a big one. John Searl never talked about aliens and stuff, but he did talk about space travel big. And he said he wanted to commercialize that. He wanted to make for everybody to be able to go to the moon, travel around the moon, see it, and have tours and go to Mars. And he said he could get to Mars in like 3 hours. It's like less than that, or probably 30 minutes. I think he said 30 minutes. It takes light 3 minutes to travel from Earth to Mars. So if you could get there in 30 minutes, you're traveling like 10 times less the speed of light. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Did he ever talk about, so he never talked about aliens or any type of visitation or any kind of paranormal things? Because it seems, that's very fascinating how it almost seems like there's and a lot of evidence to support that there's something that won't allow certain nuclear things to be used here, and something kind of shows up and disarms it and, blocks it. So did he ever speak about any kind of interference or anything along those lines?
No, actually, he made fun of people who typed that. He was not into the alien thing. He'd make fun of people. So, you get an anal probe by the aliens again, eh? Like he'd.
Oh, what's his accent? Where was John from?
He was
what's
from
his
the UK.
background?
He was British.
Okay.
I just threw that out there. You didn't know. So.
Well, we were talking in a Scottish accent before we started.
No, John Searl is actually Japanese. And what is he talking like that then, mate? So, he's British. I
wish he talked like a wrestler, so he'd be like,
"My goodness,
why are they talking like that?
I want to get the SEG to the world, brother."
Can you imagine how effective that would be if he came out and talked about, and then it flew up above the roof. And then
oh my God, you just gave me the greatest idea. We could do AI voiceovers and stuff with Macho Man Randy Savage doing John Searl stuff for the whole interview. Dude, that would just be hilarious.
Can we? Oh,
I'm gonna have to figure this one out, folks. See, well, the real hackers stand up. They need to like make some video memes. That's where the real hackers.
They finally get into your email and they see all these like wrestling, these Randy Savage.
Yeah, they look at me like
descriptions of all of the tech.
This guy is disgusting. Get this guy out of here. They're gonna delete me just for that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is like need to market. That's what I would emphasize people to do is like make memes about your favorite like alternative energy projects.
Make it catchy and digestible and simple and
flashy, funny, like and controversial. Don't forget the controversy. 'Cause that's what it sells. So make it interesting. Just share the info. Make memes and stuff. Meme them. Meme these people. Where's all my vets at?
Meme the knowledge.
And we need some meme vets here. It's time to go to the battle. All right. So we need to like spread the info far and wide and get some good stuff going. So we need to help some people. And this technology can do that. So the claims made for the technology is like the opposite of Pandora's box. You open up Pandora's box, you get like a world of horrible stuff.
So what do you need? So like investors would be great.
Yes, absolutely. So that's where how it happens really is funding for the technology. Uh, the problem is only accredited investors can purchase shares in the company to financially contribute, which means you have to make a certain amount of money. So only rich people can fund the project pretty much. That's how the company is structured, because we have tried for 10 years. I've tried for 10 years. John Searl tried since the 80s to get funding from the public. People don't care. You don't want to nickel and dime people for 5s and 20s and 1s to try and fund the project for $3 million. That has to come from angel investors and people of high level who care and who know what they're doing. But only accredited investors can purchase shares in the company to financially contribute. The only people who have helped us out so far, they have knocked on our door, emailed us, and phoned us to offer their help. Trying to do interviews and convince people is great for promotion, but it doesn't facilitate real world funding the project. That comes from, well, you know what? Sometimes it does, actually. I'm going to take that back, because some of the interviews that I've done have led people to contacting us. So that's a plus. So this interview.
Yeah, don't block it already. Damn
I
it.
don't block myself by hacking myself. Life hack. Oh my God. So that's part of the deal, is to spread this information to the people who can make a difference financially to this, because the people who care don't have the money. The people who have the money, they don't care. We got to bridge them together. So that's what we're aiming to do, is provide enough education and validation and substantiation so people have justification to fund the project and support it. Because if you give people a reason to, then they're going to have more reason to support you. But if people are just in the dark, okay, this guy claims we can power his house and fly to space. Okay, I'm on to my job now. I have to pay my freaking bills. It's like, it sounds great. It's a fantasy. Good luck to you. But we're making this real. We have a professional environment. This is a genuine endeavor. If it's real, it's really real. And it's like one of the most important things in humanity. So in my investigations, in trying to invalidate John Searl and catch this guy as a con man, I validated his claims over and over.
Is that how it started?
Yeah.
Jason, you started out as a skeptic?
No, I was like, okay, if this guy is for real, I need to assess him and scrutinize him for real. Try to catch him in his statements. Let's see what he's got. If he's for real and the truth does not fear getting asked questions. And I asked him, this guy was the most open person ever. He answered all of my questions. I visited him multiple times, got to know him, and he was just so friendly and wanting to tell me everything. I'm like, wow, okay, because nobody would listen to him. I'm crazy. He's crazy. We're great friends.
Hey. And guess what? You're frozen too right now.
Okay, hold on a second. I know how to stop this. Okay, did we do that?
Yeah, much better. Okay. Remember,
I'm trying to hack you, boy. That's right.
Go for the mind positions.
So John Searl was a wonderful human being, very eccentric, very controversial, and I tried to invalidate his claims and tried to catch him up. And okay, he always told the same story, never slipped up, always was consistent. And here's what really got me was the little things he would tell me. I can't give you an example right now, but it's just like something small he would tell me, but then I'd see in multiple articles years later, wait a minute, John Searl told me that years ago. And then, okay, here's something. John Searl said, when these magnets are spinning really, really fast, he said they will just lock together. They won't separate. They're just locked together. And everybody's like, you're crazy. They don't do that. Okay. Recently, within the last couple years, there is this scientist who discovered this trick where if you have a magnet at the end of a drill bit or a Dremel tool spinning 10,000, 25,000 RPM, and you hold that above another magnet, it will just lock onto the other magnet, and you'll be able to pull that other magnet around, like, and it will just lock in place. This one's spinning really fast, and this one's somehow just locking onto the other one, and you can lift it around. Okay, so I'm like, wait a minute, John Searl told me that before. There's this anomalous locking effect at high speeds. Like years later, this guy told me. So little things like that add up over the years, over and over and over and over and over. Validate John Searl, going into the actual laboratory and testing his claims out, isolating them one by one. Okay, let's see if this works. What? This works. Wait a minute. Okay, let's see if this law of squares things works. Let's see if really you need this amount of material in relation to the magnet and this and this. Oh my God. It not only works, it's geometrically perfect down to the micron and the milligram. We're talking like NASA engineer precision from John Searl, a kid who got his dreams. Like, these things fit together so perfectly. Like, the magnetic field of the magnet is the perfect distance away and extends from the stator ring. It has the same, the right intensity. The amount of copper on here has just the amount of copper so that it develops eddy currents to push away. So the magnets want to attract it, but the copper wants to repel it. So it develops this equilibrium like the maglev train, where the magnets and the pieces will orbit, but they won't touch. And the only way to do that is if all of the parts and all of their characteristics are in complete geometric resonance. The copper and its diamagnetism, the magnet and its magnetism, the plastic and its dielectric, the neodymium and its electron reservoir capture quality. All of these things, like that you look on the periodic chart and signed in all these articles, nobody knew about this except for John Searl from his dreams. There's still, the scientific community does not know about this electron capture effect of certain lanthanides.
When people in the community like badmouth it, what do they say? Like, what's their shtick?
It's
their problem?
They say it's impossible. There are no UFOs. That's just okay. And anti-gravity is a fallacy. It's just a pipe dream. You can't have a superconductor levitating above the earth. Okay, like you can't.
So if they saw it, they would believe it. Like what?
And some people have. Those are some of the 70 shareholders who have financially contributed. They have seen these things, witnessed them, or worked on them themselves, so they know the validity. And they say,
"So you haven't released? So they're like, you guys don't want to show certain things,
correct?
Or you can't."
You don't want to show everything because that's proprietary information, and we are a company going to try and get this technology out. The people who are helping to get this out are putting in money, so they deserve to get their money back at least, right? You put in $1 million into somebody because you believe in them. What if they start giving all that information away for free? How are you going to get your $1 million back? Like, hey, buddy, what the hell? So you have to form a business. And if you really want to help people, you can sell products and services for cheaply to compete with everybody else and help people and get it out there. That's the only way. Otherwise, if you try to give things for free, somebody will form a company based upon the free information that you provide. They will patent it, and then they will prevent you and everyone else from building it and selling it. That's the real world that we live in, okay? That is the harsh, horrific, stupid clown world, bureaucratic, political.
It makes me so mad how certain things are gatekeep, though.
Okay? That's the idiocracy that we live in reality, and you have to work with reality.
Yeah, but if we all get in touch with our higher power and cleanse and like all these insights and everything,
until that we can meditate. Great. Until then, you got to work with the economy and reality. And everybody who is saying, hey, I have a free energy technology, here it is. They give it away for free. Somebody patents that technology and puts it on a shelf and then prevents the guy from building it and says, we'll put you in federal prison if you ever try to build your own technology. You come out with a company with this.
So wouldn't teaching everyone how to do it be the biggest solution?
No, because would you want Would you want people being able to refine nuclear materials in their backyard without governments knowing? So now you have nuclear bombs around. If you had the energy, you can refine uranium. If you have the energy, you can have underground torture chambers. You can have human trafficking operations. You can have horrible things if you have the energy to do that. But if you're a nice person, you use a pillow to sleep on it. But if you're a bad person, you smother people with pillows, right? So that same tool could be used nefariously to really screw up the world. And John Searl was adamant at preventing certain information from getting in the wrong hands. He died, say, do not give the magnetization process to anybody. Keep it a trade secret like Coca-Cola's recipe. Coca-Cola can function just fine. The company workers, the truck drivers, the CEOs, nobody knows that recipe. Coca-Cola is still around. The recipe is in a vault, right? The same with this magnetic process to turn these magnets into the magnetic waveforms, which then can draw in the electrons and do the magnetic wave and the frictionless bearings. All of that is based upon the magnetization process. That is the key. John Searl said, do not share that, never patent it, ever. And people had tried to destroy his life, steal from him, tried to buy him out, tried to...
Did he ever get hurt? Like,
yeah, yeah.
Like, did anyone ever try to kill him?
Yeah, people tried to poison him, and he almost died. He was in the hospital. After that, he had... When they pulled the air tube, the ventilator tube out of him, they screwed his larynx and his trachea up. And for like the last 10, 15 years of his life, he couldn't even drink water. He could only drink milkshakes and like really thick stuff because it would go down his windpipe because they screwed up his trachea.
I'm like, not dairy, John.
Yeah, Fernando Morris saved John Searl's life multiple times. Like, John Searl was living by himself in London, in Somerset, in the middle of nowhere. Not even UFOs go there, right? Like, we're talking farm country. So he was out there, and Fernando visited him multiple times, set up a computer for him, set up everything he needed, and checked in with him every day. One day, John Searl didn't check in. So Fernando called the cops and had to internationally call the cops in London, like, go check on this old man in the middle of nowhere. They found him on the floor. He couldn't, like, fall in and I can't get up. He would have died. He had no heat there. He's like,
the hell is he living with no heat?
He called it Martian training. He didn't have money.
Oh, what? A brilliant man who was really like, oh man.
That's the other thing about his throat. He couldn't sleep laying down. He had to sleep in a chair, like in a prone position, like recline. He could never lay down again. So like they almost killed him, poisoning this guy. I don't know who did that, but he almost died from getting he wouldn't give them his technology, and he refused to sign his rights away. And people are like, give it to me. And he over and over and over and over and over throughout his entire life, even until 2016, people trying to steal his stuff.
And that's why the ones that like are given the most power, like, are the ones that they don't even want it to begin with, really, Yeah. Or like just certain gifts and abilities, or, it's the ones that don't want to abuse it that are usually get more of it.
Some of those people recently contacted another person who I was going to do an interview with, and they persuaded this person not to allow me to speak. They like follow around on the internet, like, and then try to like prevent me from speaking, or like try to get me
we're here to
canceled.
change all that. There,
You can't stop
Verbelli.
me. I told I'm going to be a thorn in your side for the next 50 years. So like, I'm not fit. Like, I'm young. Okay. So
I got my nanobubbles behind me.
yeah, my Michael Bublé's, my little nano bubble. Exactly. Sorry. Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell.
Wow, another amazing show, Jason. This story really grabs my heart. Like I said, it's all the things I'm passionate about, getting visions, and my visions has completely changed my life and my trajectory. I was just living life, and then all the things I was shown, it was much more advanced, and it completely changed everything. And following that, and the complications and the darkness that comes with that at first, but with, like, this is amazing. Like, I'm so fascinated by this man, and I'm also like, like, I feel like that's a disgrace, for humanity, and of how bad he suffered and how much,
yeah, he was really mistreated. There's a lot more. He was really mistreated, but that's another episode. Huh? So we got another one, but we're going to pull through. We're going to persevere. There's nothing that we can't solve in one generation. So
absolutely. And we're looking for angel investors. So we're putting it out there. We're putting it out there, man. It's happening.
Thank
if
you
there
so
was
much
ever
for
a time. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Jason. Thank you everyone for being here, Jason. Thank you so much for your knowledge and sharing.
Thank you for having me. Right on. Look at that.
Right on. Well, all right. I will see you soon.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful night.
Sun come up, beautiful, till it all burns out. We're like falling stars, miracles, dancing on the ground. And we're right with you to feel it strike deep dive. We're right with you, yeah. And we're right with you to feel it strike deep dive. Suffering grows, yeah. Let's say that life is beautiful.